subject of the formula. Example 2. It says here that you must make R the subject of the formula. Pause the video and do it, and then we go through it together. So go ahead and pause. Finish? All right. So we see what happened with it now. You have, let me just rewrite it. A equals pi big R minus small r divided by 2r squared. And this will make big R the subject of the formula. Right, let's see now. What you're going to need to do is have R equal, that's uppercase R or big R, equals, and everything else must be over the other side. What you can do first of all, you notice big R minus small r over 2, that is R squared. Now you cannot divide, add, subtract, multiply or anything and move the big R outside of the bracket yet. What you must do is remove the square. How you remove the square? How you get rid of square? You do the inverse, the square root. What we want square root just yet. What we want to do now is divide by pi. So what we have, when we divide by pi, we have A equal pi r big R minus small r over 2r squared. What we divide this by pi so that we get rid of the pi. Remember, you know, we want to get rid of the pi, get rid of the square root, get rid of the 2, and get rid of the small r to leave big R alone. So when you divide by pi, we divide the right hand side by pi, the equation becomes off balance. So we must restore balance by dividing the left hand side by pi as well. So what we have then is A divided by pi equals big R minus small r divided by 2r squared. The next thing we need to do is square root. See that? We're going to square root. So we square root A divided by pi equals the square root of big R minus small r divided by 2r squared. Now when you square the square root of a number, when you square root the square of a number, you get back the number. For example, you have 3 squared, and the square root of it is really the square root of 9, which is what? 3. Also, the square root of 4 squared is what? So into the square root of 16, square 4 you get 16, but the square root of 16 is 4, and so on and so forth. So the square root of this squared is just this itself. So what you have is big R minus small r divided by 2. And over here you have the square root of A divided by the square root of divided by pi. Alright. Now you need to get rid of the small r and the 2. Suppose you multiply by 2. What you get is the square root of big A divided by pi equals 2 equals r minus big R minus small r divided by 2. But now you multiply by 2 and you multiply by 2. Remember, you can put the big R, small r in the bracket here. When you do that, 2 cancels 2. So what you end up with here is 2 times the square root of A divided by pi I don't really need to put back the multiplication sign, equals, and you have big R minus small r. Remember now, what they say you must transpose for is big R. So you move small r. Well, there's no mathematical operation known as move. You can add, subtract, multiply, or divide. What you're going to do in this case to get rid of the small r from being mixed up with the big R, you are going to add. So you must add small r. And of course, it's to both sides. So it's 2 square root of a divided by pi plus small r equals big R minus small r plus small r. But this part means small r is gone. So what you have is just big R alone. Over here you have 2 square root of a divided by pi plus small r. You can rewrite it as big R equals 2 square root of a divided by pi plus small r. So there you have it. Right? So if you need to, what I want you to do is try again and see how it works. Now remember, this, depending on how you work it out, it could also be written as 2 square root of a divided by square root of pi plus small r. It could be that. Alright? Now, it's possible for you to get it looking in another way. It could be 2 square root of a. Now, if you draw the line here and find the LCM, you just get rid of this, working it out as a fraction. If you do it in another way, I see somebody redo it in another way, you might get something like this. The pi to pi goes 1 time. 1 times 2 square root of a is just 2 square root of a. Plus 1 into square root of pi. Square root of pi into square root of pi goes 1 time. Remember your fraction? 1 times 2 square root of a is 2 square root of a. Plus 1 into square root of pi goes square root of pi times. Square root of pi times small r is square root of pi small r. It's possible that you might get it looking this way, but it's the same thing. Alright, so I will see you in the next video.